Good evening. My name is Ben Tartaglia. This is a new show. It's called In My Opinion. I put this together because people ask me a lot of questions, and I try to answer their questions, but there's just not enough minutes in the day to do that. So I thought I'd start this and I'd bring up subjects that people have asked me about. It's planned to be a monthly show. I think it's that popular, might have to do more than one a month. Let me see. Basically, it's just almost an open mic, except you can't talk back. So anyway, we've got a bunch of things to talk about tonight. The first one is the stormwater article that's coming up at the town meeting. We had a meeting for the Shrewsbury for Responsible Taxation back in February, and we got some surprises. Shrewsbury for Responsible Taxation started back in 2006, and we've had a program on, I think, almost every month since then. I don't know if it's the longest advocate program, but seems pretty long. Anyway, SRT is a local tax watchdog group whose purpose is to educate the public on responsible revenue and spending policies. Back in February, we had the stormwater utility tax on it as a subject. And that has had, as I say, unprecedented pushback, public pushback. It was heavily debated. And two attendees were actually members of the Board of Selectmen. There were several other SRT members there and other interested parties. One of the selectmen, to my surprise, agreed the financing of the mandated regulations could be achieved without the stormwater utility and its new taxes, regulations, and bureaucracy. And so if you read the details on the article, it does say that in there. So you don't have to do it that way. You just got to figure out a way to fund it. The Board of Selectmen could ask the voters to approve a Prop 2.5 operational override. That is the accepted way to approve a multi-million-dollar town expenditure funded by tax dollars. It is the stormwater utility is a substitute for the Prop 2.5 operational override. Utilities are becoming very popular because once you're a utility and you have an appointed board, any increases or decreases in the budget can be done by a majority of the 5 appointed administrators there. If you did an override, for example, say the town meeting says no, we don't want to do that. What would they do? Because that's what they always ask you, and it's an appropriate question. They say, well, gee, if we don't do this, where are we going to get the money to do it? Well, in my opinion, okay, that's the wrong answer. I mean, the Board of Selectmen or the administration should not be asking the town meeting members how to do it. That's the job of the administration. If the legislative body says no, then the administration has to figure out a way to do it. So anyway, we needed $1.8 million to cover the annual. We could do that, but how are we going to do it? First thing they could do is to have an across the budget cut of 1.3%. 1.3%. Now, I've had multi-million-dollar budgets before. If I told my managers to cut by 1.3, or if my director or the vice president told me I had to cut by 5%, I would just do it. If one of my managers told me they couldn't cut their budget by 1.3%, there'd be somebody else doing their budget the next day. Now, I know someone's going to say, oh my God, 1.3%, we're going to die. No, you're not. It's not going to happen. There's a bunch of ways. First, reduce it by 1.3%. Second, use the turnback from departmental budgets that were appropriated but unused. Every year, there's been turnback. As far as I can remember, there's always turnback. For the past 3 years, the turnback has exceeded $2 million. 2016, it was $2,200,000. 2017, it was $1,391,000. In 2018, it was $1,905,000. So there's money there. It's just a matter of how the administration decides to spend it. By the way, while I was finding out how much turnback there was for the town operations, the school in 2016 turned back 0. In 2017, they turned back 0. And in 2018, they turned back 0. Now, their budget is about 2.5, 3 times larger than the town, and yet through prudent management, they didn't have any turnback. That bothers me. I just thought you might like those numbers, and those are within the last, I got that in the last couple of months. So you've got two. You've got the reduction of 1.3%. You've got the use of the turnback, and then you have free cash. There's usually $4, $5, $6,000 million rather in there. So for the past 3, okay, and fourth, which would be the right way to do it in my estimation. No, not the right way. The fourth is propose a Prop 2.5 operational override and do it that way. The budget for, and I asked the question at one of the meetings, the budget for the stormwater is about 70, maybe 80% operational expenses. So those are the ways. The best one, 1.3 across the board, no problem, no regulations, no extra people, no stormwater application review and inspection fees. Now on the inspection fee, this is beautiful. I don't know how many of you have gotten this, but this is called a stormwater application review and inspection fee. And it spells out so much land, review fee, inspection fee, total. It runs anywhere from amount of land, disturbed, goes by that. They say it's going to cost $90 for most of the people in town. But on the second page of this application review and inspection fee, in the last, let's see, the last paragraph or so, it is the last paragraph, an additional fee may be charged to cover outside professional consultant review services for the project if the Department of Public Works, DPW, determines that such services are necessary due to the scope and complexity of the project. The consultant services may include, not limited to, review by engineers, hydrologists, attorneys, other professionals, blah, 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 as-built plan review. But these, and I talked to one fellow who was asked for a review, and he says if he does it to what they're asking, it's going to cost him $7,000. Now, in my opinion, that's a lot of money. And this fee must be paid to the town prior to the start of the review process, unless the DPW approves other arrangements for the applicant to pay the consultants directly. So, you think you're going to get away with, looking at 10,000 or 20,000 square feet, and you're going to pay $450. That's not necessarily so, and unelected officials can just say, oh, well, it looks like you're going to need another $8,000 or $5,000 to do this deal. Most people would walk away. This is awful. This is absolutely awful. On the inside cover of your town meeting booklet, it's going to say, one of the things they list to watch out for is a foot in the door. We don't know what this is going to cost. We have no idea what it's going to cost. For example, we don't even know if it's going to cost this much. You know, the present administration is negative on all kinds of fees and regulations. Regulations are being cut rapidly. In a way, it looks like the administration is going to be reelected. I don't think there's anybody that's watched what's going on thinks that won't happen. But they don't know. They have no clue how much this is going to cost in 5 years. How'd the last water regulation thing go for you? Huh? We're still working on that. People are working hard. It's not their fault. But I mean, I wouldn't trust anything that's not voted on by the town meeting people, not at this size dollar amount. So anytime you see utilities, a new utility being taxed, you want to grab your wallet and run. Their decisions on that board are not subject to a vote by the registered voters nor the town meeting members, I'm sorry. It's supported by a new bureaucracy, and the resources, additional human resources of initially $250,000. Complicated appeal process, method of calculating the basis of the, no one believes this. What is that thing? Won't seep into the water, you know, into the ground. What do they call it? Forget that word they use. I get so upset about it, I've forgotten what it is. Penetration of water into the ground. It's, you know, you have a deck, it drips through the cracks in the wood, goes into dirt, but it's still impermeable. Doesn't make sense. They had a public hearing on this. This is really something. I went to the public hearing, right? Totally useless endeavor. The public meeting was perfunctory. That means that it didn't matter if it happened at all. They're still going to do what they want to do. Everything was legal, I've been told. I believe that. But being legal and being wrong are two different things. It was overwhelming. I think I'm just remembering this. There must have been 50 people there. Nobody wanted it. Nobody. I mean, how are we going to pay for this? All these questions were unanswered, and nobody could ever vote on this in any way at all. Everything was quote unquote legal. Anyway, I hope that gets voted down at town meeting. Oh, by the way, there was no media present. There was no newspaper reporters there. And yet, a couple of days later, there's this article in the paper about it. And it was just basically, yeah, we had this meeting, a lot of people spoke, blah, 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 and it was over. The reporter who wrote that article did not attend. Because I contacted the reporter and I said, well, what? I couldn't make it. That reporter was told that nothing was going to change, so there wasn't any important reason why the reporter should attend. It was all a farce, guys. And this is nothing personal. I'm just saying it just doesn't make sense. All right. And we talked about the application fee. Oh, they're telling you your water and sewer bill is changing on this flyer. Very nicely done flyer. And then starting on July of 2019, unless this gets voted down at town meeting, the stormwater fees will be added to your water and sewer bills. And this talks about the public meeting on January 15th, 7 p.m. in Town Hall, to adopt the utility rate structure. I just think that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of reasons. All the questions were given out and answered ahead of time. Nice handout here. And they're blaming the town of Shrewsbury. The reason Shrewsbury has to do it because we can't increase the general property taxes by 2.5% from one year to the next. By the way, that guarantees your taxes are going to go up by 2.5%. It's not a limitation. You divide that into 72, And you'll see that it'll double in so many years anyway. It'll be a 5% after so many years. How is a stormwater utility fee different than a tax? It's because it's proclaimed. It's the same thing that happened with the school bus fees. School bus fees. Same thing happened there. The school committee said that if we didn't, school administration rather, said that if we didn't pass the override, they'd have to institute bus fees. Well, the override got voted down, and the school administration instituted bus fees. That is, there's no, it's not criminal to do that. But the people who get stuck with that bill are the people with one car, one person, maybe the father or the mother is working, the other one is home. You got 3 kids, and they have to get to school by law. They don't have a choice. They have to get to school. And it's not a fee. If you have to pay for a government service, the town, then it's a tax. And they all say, oh, no, it's not a tax. You don't have to do it. You could walk to school. You could drive the kids. You could carpool. It's a tax. It's still there. It gets worse every single year. And it's never going to go away until until the voters are up in arms. Oh, yeah, and they're also talking about, what about outdoor, what about people who have their own private water pumps on their property, doesn't go through the town? Those people don't have to pay because of that. That's a crock. Because eventually, and I don't know, it'll be the next few years, in my opinion, people with private pumps in the yard, their own private wells, they're going to start going to be charged. They are taking water out of the same aquifer, so they're going to eventually get charged. That's what the argument's going to be. So I really worry about that. Got to move along here. Got a lot to do and not much time. So that's basically the stormwater. I hope the town, the town people will, town meeting members will vote it down. Okay, now I had an article in the Community Advocate called Shrewsbury's Vanishing Twin. Got a lot of positive feedback on this, but basically I don't run through it. It's only a couple hundred words. There's a medical phenomenon called the vanishing twin. Oh, this appeared in the Community Advocate on Friday, March 8th, 2019. There's a medical phenomenon called the vanishing twin. With the advent of sonographic examinations, a twin pregnancy may be diagnosed in early gestation. Serial sonographic examinations can show the disappearance or vanishing of one of those twins. In layman's terms, one fetus is actually absorbed by the other fetus and appears to have vanished. True story. Check it out. I see a similarity between the vanishing twin phenomenon and what is happening between the Shrewsbury School Committee and the Board of Selectmen. The school committee is supposed to operate independently from the BOS, the Board of Selectmen, and the BOS is forbidden by law to direct the school committee as to how to fulfill its goals. BOS gives them their money, but then they can't tell them how to spend it. The BOS twin allocates the taxpayers' money. The process works well when there is a balance or some sort of a dynamic between the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. However, it appears the BOS twin, is about to vanish. The evidence becomes really clear when one examines the composition and background of the Board of Selectmen. First, and this is nothing bad about the Selectmen, this is just policy stuff, okay? The evidence becomes clear when you examine the composition and background of the BOS. First, 4 out of 5 selectmen have strong ties to the school committee. Second, last year, one sitting selectman successfully ran for the Board of Selectmen stating, quote, "I want to be the school's representative on the Board of Selectmen," end quote. This year, a 3-term school committee member is running for selectman. very smart, nice guy. If elected, the Board of Selectmen will have been totally absorbed by the school committee. The check and balance of the two boards will have disappeared. The Board of Selectmen will have become the vanished twin. I think, I'm not supporting one person or the other. I'm just saying, from a top-down, 30,000-foot policy standpoint, you really want a dynamic checks and balances between the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. You get the management that you vote for. All right. Oh, wow, I only got 8 minutes left. Well, I have a petition, a warrant article for the annual town meeting called an act increasing citizen opportunities for holding elective office. The most frequent comment I get, people want to see in Shrewsbury, is some sort of term limits. People being on the board for 12, 15, 20 years is just not very popular, but the incumbents always have the upper hand on it. Now, some people will call this a term limit, but I challenge you to find the words term and limit in it. There is no term limit here. In fact, this guarantees you can run for an unlimited number of terms. So it's really guaranteed unlimited terms. Section 1 of it says, an elected Shrewsbury official shall be eligible to serve 2 consecutive terms in the same elective office, followed by a hiatus from said office for 1 full term. Following said hiatus, said official shall be eligible to serve in that same office for another 2 consecutive terms, followed by another 1 full term hiatus, and so forth indefinitely. During that time also, that official can run for any other elective office. Okay, town meeting members shall be exempt from this act. And you say, why would town meeting members be exempted? I'll tell you why. Because every 10 years, when the census comes around, all town meeting members have to stand for election. All of them. Now, we don't have that for any other elected official in town. 10 years. Section 3, current elected officials may serve out their current terms, and this act shall be effective upon its passage. I like the 2 terms on, 1 term off, 2 terms on, because I am really conflicted about banning somebody, a really qualified person, or even if they're not qualified. I don't like the idea of banning somebody from ever running for that same office. Of course, if they are on that 1-year hiatus, they can do anything. I mean, the people on the elected officials don't just go away. They serve in other capacities, on committees, on chairmanships, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so that's the name of that tune. It's not long because it doesn't need to be long. I find the longer things are, the more problems it has in the long run. Now, one selectman had told me that the best form of term limits is elections, his terms, not my terms. A long-time incumbent. That is actually inaccurate on its face. And a long-time incumbent has had a lot of exposure, has relationships with other incumbents, has name and face recognition, voted for unaccountable measures to help people out, which is part of the job, have loyalty from other longtime officials, and has an experienced election team, and better fundraising capability, and has even signed locations. They also have interrelationships with people in town who are very strong politically. You know, if you're going to run for election, you got to raise about $10,000. Under that, you won't get elected. At least that's what the statistics shows. I got elected because I was running against the override. First time I ran against it, it got defeated and I lost. The second time I ran against it, it got defeated and I won. And I had like no money. I had like $2,500 raised. So that's what I tell all people who are running for office. You got to get some money up, or get some particular cause that overrides the loyalty of the incumbents. Well, let's see, we're down to 3 minutes. Let's see what else I can get in here in 3 minutes here. Oh, here it is. One of the things I want to see happen in town is to use the Old Beale School for Shrewsbury Housing Authority living accommodations. It's truly inexpensive housing. When somebody tells you we're going to have affordable housing, that's a bunch of BS in my feelings. In my opinion, it's awful. Affordable housing now means $2,000 a month for rent. Not affordable. Housing Authority, the best that I have ever seen for an organization. They do a great job. They give back over $40,000 a year to the town, and they help out with the van. So I think that's the thing to do. I'll probably pick up on this next week because we're getting down to the 2-minute mark. But it will solve the, some towns have already done it. It's not that hard to do. It just takes political will. And hopefully next month we can talk more about how to use that school for the Housing Authority. I thank you very much for attending, hearing me tonight, putting up with me. I'll see you next time on In My Opinion.